When does a game stop being fun and start behaving like a slot machine? If the game mechanics needed fear of missing out as a variable rewards to work, should it have actually shipped out? How would this design change if we optimized it for player well-being instead of addiction engagement and retention? Find out on today's episode of Voices of Victory.
The Voices of Victory podcast show.
Voices of Victory.
Vision.
Voices of Victory.
Leadership.
Voices of Victory.
Workplace-related topics.
The Voices of Victory.
Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory.
It's time for the show. You are now listening to the Voices of Victory podcast show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mario Di Leone.
I'm Mario Di Leone, and this is the Voices of Victory. If you are a parent and you're not a gamer yourself, you may want to listen to this. And for mental health support, NAMI Helpline, which is NAMI, this is a non-crisis support line. You can call 1-800-950-6264. That spells out NAMI, N-A-M-I. Or you can text on your mobile phone or smartphone, NAMI, to 62640. And Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. They offer peer support information and resource referrals. This is not a crisis or suicide prevention line in specifics. The crisis support line is 24/7. It's a separate line. You can call or text 988 at any time. This will connect you to the 988 Lifeline and immediate support from trained counselors. So, is gaming really bad? Should we actually demonize Fortnite and every title that uses these little Jedi mind tricks in the game? Well, not exactly, because games themselves are not the villain. It's the patterns. It's the dark patterns inside them that we actually need to look at. Dark patterns. These are literally design tactics that push you toward a choice that you didn't fully decide for yourself. And guess what? In games, that could mean time-limited offers that hit your fear of missing out button inside your heart. Or maybe reward schedules that keep you saying, just one more match, just one more campaign, just one more time. And in-game currencies that blur the real-world value of what you're actually spending. Because let's face it, at the end of the day, it's all zeros and ones. Everything you buy in a game is not tangible. You can't physically touch it. You can't hold it. It can be utilized within the game, but it's not tangible. It's not real. It is literally all zeros and ones. It is data. That is it. And guess what? When dark patterns are in the game, we can see that there's an unethical aspect of things. If they're used unethically, they become psychological pickpocketing at best. I personally spent 30 years studying psychology as it relates to self-esteem and who we are as people. And I've studied dark patterns in games, not just to find them, but to figure out which ones to actually avoid. I'm also a certified in accessibility in gaming as it relates to that engagement, because engagement is nothing without inclusion. Now, during my time as a project manager, I've worked on 2 small projects. Nothing triple A, nothing big or major. But that's okay, because what they did was they gave me a front row seat to both the dark patterns that are being used and the harmless motivation, and where they crossed the line into something that you wouldn't want your kid or you to actually get hooked on. And that's what today is all about. Fortnite, dark patterns. And that's the fine line between clever game design, understanding intent and intention, and of course, predatory manipulation. Because if we don't talk about this, if we just keep being passive about it, we'll just keep shrugging our shoulders and say, oh, well, it's just a game. Just downplay it, right? It's just fun. It's just a game. And I get it. It is fun. It is a game. But we have to go a little bit deeper to understand the intent. Until you realize that your V-Bucks habit is starting to look like a Vegas weekend, then we have to start looking at the deeper mechanisms behind it. Psychological mechanisms behind Fortnite's dark patterns. The very first dark pattern is the Skinner box, or what's called variable ratio reinforcement. Well, it's a fancy phrase for rewards on unpredictable schedules, period. It's just like a slot machine. A loot drop, rotating items in the store, or event rewards. Your brain is going to get a lot of dopamine and chase the possibility of getting those things just as much as the thought of winning. The next dark pattern is fear of missing out and loss aversion. So we hate losing. As human beings, we hate losing something more than we love gaining it. And guess what? Limited time skins, the countdown timers, the seasonal passes, you'll feel like you gotta grab it now. And the next one is commitment and consistency bias. The more time and money you put into it, the more you'll feel that you must keep going. Because Battle Pass unlocks will lead to the idea of, I've already come this far, so I might as well keep going. So when it gets down to social proof and status signaling, the social aspect and status signaling is a big deal. When you get rare skins in the game that show the proof of skill, or getting a level of experience to show exclusivity, then guess what? Other people see it and they want in. They want in right away. And this could really connect to approval, having to deal with approval, that you're not good at the game unless, of course, you achieve X, Y, Z. What about hyperstimulation and habit formation? I mean, let's face it, habits do form, and there is a hyperstimulation. At what point does the human brain actually shut down, let go, and go outside for a walk? Because when we look at the flashy unlock animations that are present, the sound effects, the map changes that you're waiting for, your brain and the dopamine, it starts craving the stimulation. You got to remember, when you have an actual addiction, how do you determine if you have an actual addiction? Here's how you do it. It connects to your identity, first off. So games wrap around who you are. And when it comes down to identity, when you use the letter I, the first letter in identity is I. I need, I must, I have to have. If you use those words, I need, I must, I have to have, then you are addicted. And you know what? A person could poke fun and make a meme out of that, but mental health is not something to fucking joke about. It's not. It's serious. It's quite serious when your whole bank account is getting drained because you have an addiction. Let's think about it that way. This is not a judgment. This is a matter of being objective and really understanding. So if you say to yourself, I need, I have to, I must play it, I have to play it. If you start getting into those I statements, you need to find a way to get some support. You can check out Dr. K's channel. He's really good. But hyperstimulation and habit formation, it's all part of it. The brain will start craving that stimulation. Another concept is decision fatigue and confusion. Too many flashy choices, it creates a lot of overwhelm. So you click fast, sometimes you're meaning to buy, and sometimes you're not meaning to buy, but you bought anyway. Another dark pattern is the foot in the door. I've seen this used in sales a great deal. Like if I were going to sell you a steak, right? And you could actually pay for the fries and then upsell to the steak. That's kind of how it works, right? But the foot in the door is like a small $4.99 pack that leads you to a bigger bundle, which leads you to a bigger bundle, and then the spending creeps upward and upward and upward without you actually noticing. The next dark pattern is temporal triggers. Temporal connects to time, triggers, we all know what that's about, and habit loops. Habit loops are the way our habits repeat in a cycle. So the daily challenges, the streaks, you start planning your life around reset times. Why these work? They stack dopamine hits and it keeps you in the game. The status pressure makes you spend. FOMO, or fear of missing out, it locks in that sense of urgency. And when it comes to the habit loop keeps you coming back. And that's how a free-to-play game is literally making billions. Now, what I always say, and this is just connected to willpower and self-esteem, and that willpower, self-esteem, and discipline, these are something that are constantly being cultivated, something that we could indeed work on, should we choose to. Should we choose to think about growth in our life? These are things we work on. I always say everything in moderation, including moderation. That's not just a cute fucking phrase. Okay, people say, I'm addicted to this game. I need, I must, I have to have. What they're really saying is, this is attached to my identity. I've wrapped my whole life around it. So when that happens, good luck prying the controller from your own hands, because it's not a game anymore. It's about defending a piece of who you are, defending a piece of who you are, defending a piece of yourself, defending the other things you want to do in life. I want my life back. I want to be able to go out and do other things and try to reclaim that part of you that you've let go of. And if someone criticizes your playtime, it can indeed feel like they're attacking you. If someone tells you to stop, I need you to go outside and rake the lawn, and your identity becomes threatened and you get violent, well, it can feel like an attack on who you are. It's going to feel like they're attacking you. Anything in opposition, you got to remember, when something connects to your identity so deeply, anything that's opposite of that becomes threatening. It can. It's not a cold, hard, fast rule. It can. It can threaten the identity and send up all kinds of emotional red flags. So, how do you know it's a problem? Here's the simple answer. It gets in the way of real life. And you'll fight, you'll argue, you'll even hurt other people just to get back in the game. That's when it gets out of hand. Okay? Now, that's connected to a person, not necessarily connected to the game. It's connected to the person and connected to the identity. And I want to make it very clear that Fortnite isn't evil. It's about your willpower development, your self-control, and intent. Let's talk about intent. And here's the real deal. Real deal. Game companies know what they're doing. Okay? A lot of times I got asked questions about how we can make more player engagement and increase that addiction factor. And I got asked a lot of those questions about how to do it. And you start to study the ethics and unethics about patterns of engagement. And dark patterns are a facet of that. And let's get something clear. Mechanics that are inserted into the game, they're not accidental. So you have to ask, are they keeping you playing because it's actually fun, or to keep you spending? Or is it just to keep you in the loop forever? Because behind every mechanic that's inserted into the game, there is an intention. There's an intent. Because it's all about massaging the mechanisms to make it more habitual, to make it more addictive, to make it more engaging. So it could be that it's there to pull on your addiction heartstrings so you'll do more and play more. But we have to ask the question, when these mechanics were put in, what was the intent behind them? That's all for today. Please like, subscribe, and share. And understand I'm not heaping scorn on the game. It's a fun game. I've played it. And quite honestly, I think it brings us to the point of figuring out that line between healthy and unhealthy, between understanding your identity and how something could wrap around your identity so badly that your behavior changes and parts of your life actually fall to the wayside and damage actually happens. Have a great day and catch you in the next episode.